Refuge family and friends, we are incredibly excited to have you jump into week 2 of our brand new series entitled Our Refuge, Refocus, Rethink, React. Refocus, Rethink, and React. Last week we jumped into refocus and it was all about hitting the target. And this week we are going to focus on rethink. Now, here's the deal. We covered a quote that was extremely impactful to all of us last week, and we would love for you to read along with us right now. Let's read this together. You will never be able to hit a target that you cannot see. You will never be able to hit a target that you cannot see. Some of you may beg to differ. Does this look familiar? Well, in situations like this, it is often difficult to hit a target that you cannot see. And if you happen to hit it, it's often by accident or with a little bit of help. Have you ever felt like that in your life where you hit the target, but it feels like it's by accident, or it was certainly with the help of others or even the Lord? Well, here's something that we, or at least a special group of us, need help with all the time. We rarely hit the target when it comes to humor. You know who I'm talking about. That's right. It's dads. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Go ahead and drop it in the comments right now. Happy Father's Day. That's right. It's our day. And I guarantee you, you can eat in public without waiting for a table, without making a reservation all across the country. Mother's Day, not the same story, but on Father's Day, it's wide open with opportunity. Well, here's the deal. We wanted to honor dads in a special way, and what better way to honor dads than with some dad jokes and some faith-based dad jokes at that. So we would love for you to enjoy this piece.
What's up, sir?
How you doing, man?
I'm blessed.
I'm highly favored.
Good. My cup runneth over.
I'm blessed.
Go.
Ready?
Waiting on you.
What do you call pastors in Germany?
What?
German shepherds.
That was good. All right. What's the name of the dating site for people with a lisp?
What is it?
Facebook. Stupid. It's just everything that's going on with Facebook. And it's...
How do angels greet each other?
How?
Hello.
Not bad. Not bad. What do you give Christians with bad breath?
I don't know.
Testaments.
Very clever.
Thank you.
Who do mice pray to?
Who do mice pray to? Who?
Jesus.
That's good. Jesus. That was bad. I'm lactose intolerant and I shouldn't have laughed. Right. So my buddy Juan started a church. Mm-hmm. Guess what the name of his church is?
What?
One Church. That's an LA joke. That was amazing. That was
One Church.
that was actually One Church? That's awesome.
One Church.
One
Man.
Church LA.
That was good.
That was good.
Around what time of day was Adam born?
When?
A little after Eve.
Not bad. All right. I took my pastor to a Falcons game, and he didn't pay attention. You know why?
Why?
His eye was on the sparrow.
I'm mad. I'm mad I laughed.
That was brilliant. Go ahead.
Ooh, wow.
All right.
Why did the unemployed man get excited about reading the Bible?
Why?
He saw a whole book of jobs.
Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, cool. If the Last Supper was on a Sunday, what do you think they ate?
I don't know.
I know it wasn't Chick-fil-A.
I laugh too much, man.
It was churches.
Oh, man.
Chick-fil-A closed on Sundays.
On Sundays.
Yeah.
That was good.
All right, cool.
That was
Thought about
good.
that.
That was good.
Thought about that, yeah.
How long did Cain hate his brother?
How long?
As long as he was able.
That's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
That one was smart.
That was really smart.
Yeah.
It was. All right. What is the official drink sponsor of the Last Supper?
I don't know.
Crown.
Yeah.
Or Christian
Okay.
Brothers, whichever one you drink.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was good.
Thank you. You chuckled. I get a point
Yeah,
for
I
that.
did.
Give me my point.
Crown. What type of car did all of the disciples ride in?
What type of car did all the disciples ride in?
Yeah.
What?
They all rode in one accord.
That was good.
That was good.
If I breathe, I'm gonna laugh. So
Yeah, let that one go. Let that one happen.
That was good. Swallowed it.
good.
Whatever. What does Moses and Snoop have in common?
Moses and Snoop.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know.
God spoke to both of them with the burning bush. You gonna give him my credit? All right, cool. That's fine. That's fine.
How does Moses make his coffee?
He doesn't. He goes to Starbucks.
He brews it. He brews it. Hebrews. Yeah. That's one. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, a huge shout out to our guy, Ron G, actor and comedian. Now, if you notice the ad for Stone Stories, it is incredible. They are actually doing exegesis on persecution, the stoning of Stephen. That's crazy, right? Wow. What an amazing, amazing time. Dads, do one for all of us today. Tell your family a dad joke as only you can. We love you so much. Now, if you were with us last week, we talked about how to refocus. And this week, we're going to talk about how to rethink. And if you were with us, we covered our vision and our mission. And so we're going to do that as a recap. So go ahead and say it with us. We are called to create what? A safe space to experience God's love every day. And how do we create a safe space to experience God's love every day? We realize that the church is a people and not a place. We are a family and not a facility. And this is about relationship and not religion. To do the greatest commandment, you have to have a relationship with the Lord, and you have to have a relationship with other people. And that is how you fulfill the great commands and the Great Commission. So we'll talk about the Great Commission piece here in a second. We are called to create a safe space to experience God's love, not just on a Sunday morning, not just on a Wednesday night, but every single day of the week. And we do that through the model of the community hub. So now let's talk about this verse that roots us and connects our vision and our mission. Let's read this together. God is our refuge, there it is, and strength, a very present help in trouble. Yes, the name of the Lord is a strong tower, and the righteous run into it and are safe. Now, you may be like me and say, wow, how could God consider me righteous? Well, the beauty is when we put our faith in Yeshua, it's Jesus, the one who lived a perfect life in perfect obedience. His righteousness is transferred and transposed onto us. And so we in Christ have become the righteousness of God. So we can run into the strong name of the Lord. That's right. It's one name. It's Yahweh. That's the proper name of God. And even Jesus, his proper name, Yeshua, is Yahweh with the suffix saves, Shua, right? And so here we are. God is our refuge and strength. He's not just protecting us from the outside, but he's strengthening us from within, a very present help in trouble. Oftentimes when we get in trouble, we have to phone it in. We have to call for help. But the Lord is a present help, a very present help in trouble. Isn't that good news? I believe it is for all of us. And so now let's talk about our mission. And our mission is how we do what we do. The vision is a preferred picture of the future. A mission is how we get there. So let's read this together. It's simple. We build people up to send people out. We build people up to send people out. Go ahead and put it in the comments right now. Let me see some arrows. We build people up to send people out. Now, build them up in what, right? We build them up in Christ's character to send them out on Christ's commission. Now, what is Christ's commission? Well, Jesus didn't say go to church. He said go be the church. Go. He didn't say come. He said go. Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Again, that's one name, right? Teaching them to observe everything that I've taught you. Now, isn't that the beauty? You don't have to be some deep theologian. Teach them to observe everything I have taught you. So no, you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be willing to share what you do have with somebody else who doesn't have it. So we build people up in order to send people out. That's right. So we want you today to rethink church. We want you to think about it in a new way. Romans 12 lets us know that we're not supposed to conform to the patterns of this world. That means we're not supposed to be shaped by outside influences, but we are to be transformed. This from the inside out by the renewing of our mind. Then we'll be able to see that God's will is in fact good, pleasing, and perfect. So let's consider this for a second. Some of you that are detail oriented, did you notice today that something's missing? A lot of people feel like something's missing from church. Like it's presentable. Some might say it looks good. It's well put together, but is it functioning the way that it should? Now, if you're detail oriented, you notice today that something is not quite right. That's right. I'm missing a button. But by the grace of God, if the wear and tear of life or just time itself starts to tear and tatter at this garment, it came with a spare. So that this garment, although it is not functioning the way it was designed to, can return to its original design and therefore function the way it was designed to function by the original designer. And that, our friends, is what we are called to do for the church. We are not the original designer, but we can be the spare button that restores the functionality of what some have just learned to gaze at rather than to wear as a garment. So let's get back to it, shall we? And so what we want to do is to take a look at a specific text, which is a description of the early church, not necessarily a prescription, but it lets us know what the early church was doing. And remember, the church was a people, and it still is a people. It's not a place. And so let's read Acts chapter 2. This is written by Luke, the same author of the gospel bearing his namesake. And we'll take a look at verses 44 through 47. And it reads this way. And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day, that's every day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved. Now let's unpack this picture of the early church. These were those that were following Jesus, and then some years later, those that were followers of Jesus, right? And this is the picture we have. They were meeting together, and they who believed were together. They were in community. They weren't just next to each other at the altar. They weren't just sitting next to each other in the pew. No, they were doing life together, and they had all things in common, which means they showed their care by sharing. They embodied their caring with sharing. So what does that look like? Can you imagine a faith family today, here and now in modern times, holding all things in common? So what does that mean? It doesn't mean that we no longer possess things or are no longer good stewards over them, but we are willing to share with others to be able to meet one another's needs. Can you imagine a community group where somebody loses their job or somebody falls on hard times or somebody has an unexpected repair? And they don't just go to one person and try to shoulder the weight that they couldn't carry on their own, but a group of people all pitching in. Something seemingly small can have a significant impact in the life of someone in their community, their faith family, and their neighbors. They were together and they shared all things in common. They didn't stop there. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. So were they giving it all away to all the people? No. They were storing it up as wise stewards so that when the storms of life hit different families, there was something already prepared for them. Can you imagine being in the position and also being prepared to help? God is the one that puts us in the position, but sometimes we're not prepared. Can you imagine having 3 snacks in some Ziploc bags that you just keep in your car that can withstand the heat of the summer, but they can stay in your car, and therefore you are not just in the position to help. God will allow you to cross paths with people, but you are prepared to help. Keep some bottled water in your car. It doesn't matter if it's some high-end brand or if it's just purified, distilled. It's water to the thirsty. Jesus lets us know, I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was hungry and you gave me food. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was in prison and you visited me. And the righteous said, like, when did we ever see you do this? Well, what you've done to the least of these, you've also done to me. And in that parable, the church folk went away sad because they would have treated Jesus better if they knew it was him. Woo! Be careful when in the presence of a stranger, for you may be entertaining divine company. Let's go. So they sold their possessions, the people that had extra, right? They all needed a place to stay. They all needed certain needs met, but those that had extra sold it so that they had something. They were prepared to meet the need when God positioned them for the need. And remember, it rained on everybody's family eventually. So that's why we want to be generous, right? So we can create a culture of generosity. And as any had need, and day by day, that's every single day, not just Sunday morning, not just Shabbat service from Friday night to Saturday night, honoring the Sabbath, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes. See, church was never designed to be a temple only thing. It was designed to be an everyday thing, and the real life of the church exploded in people's homes. That's right. After 70 AD, the temple was destroyed. So after 70 AD, there was no spiritually significant place for the people of God to dwell. And so they continued dwelling and meeting in their homes. In 2020, many churches found themselves unable or considered it irresponsible to meet in person in large groups. But that didn't mean the church stopped meeting. We encouraged our folks and our family to meet in community groups, to connect with family and friends, to pick up the phone and call that familiar face that you miss seeing. Because the church is a people and not a place. And when the place shuts down, the people can move forward. Let's go. All right. So now, and day by day, that's every day. Remember, we're creating a safe space to experience God's love every day. Attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts. That's interesting. They were grateful to receive, but they were also willing to give. They were grateful to receive, but willing to give, which means that they refused to be containers of generosity. They wanted to be conduits of generosity. Why? Because we talked about it in previous verses. They knew that their time of need was coming. And so if they created a culture of generosity, they wouldn't have to worry about, is this person going to give to me? Did I give to this person last time? When it's a culture and everybody pitches in. We're going to talk about that next week with how we all can react to this call. This is a movement, not a moment of church. This is a movement, friends, not a moment of church. Refuge is not just a local church. Refuge is the beginning of a movement where we can return to what we read, right? And experience the fruit of the early church by returning to the framework of the early church. And so they received with glad and generous hearts. They were grateful to receive, but also more than willing to give. Praising God and having favor with all the people. Now, this translation here, it is not talking about God's people. It's talking about all people, common people, non-believers. We're favoring the believers, the followers of Jesus. Why? Because they had modeled a community that they wanted to be a part of. Right now, it seems like people are running away from church in droves because the church has become politicized. The church is divided across cultural and ethnic lines, socioeconomic lines. Can you imagine and picture a faith family that the community is running to because they want some of what we have? They're not running from what we have. They're running to what we have because they have seen a safe space to experience God's love, not just on a Sunday morning, but every day. I want to encourage you. If you fellowship and worship at another church, amazing. Praise God. But guess what? We're family as believers. You can be a part of this movement. We encourage you to stay faithful with your local church. But you can be a partner in this vision to create a safe space to experience God's love every day by birthing community hubs through the community movement and ultimately finding our neighbors and inviting them in to community groups. But we'll get there in just a minute. And so they received with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people, that's non-believers. And the Lord added to their number day by day. A biblical church is a bigger church. Not that it's this massive mega church as the model, but we grow because we multiply. The Lord added to their number daily. So what does that look like? If you have a disciple and you have a disciple and you have a disciple, we are doubling over time. And that, my friends, is growth because healthy things grow. Sick churches or dead churches are content with who they have. And in fact, they try to protect them and push others out. We want to grow. We want to welcome others in, and the Lord added to their number day by day. Not just those that preferred their music style, not just those that preferred their service time or had a shorter commute with less traffic. He was adding to their number day by day those who were being saved. So the church wasn't running from non-believers. The church was running to non-believers. And we believe you are called to be a part of that movement. Let's restore the framework of the early church so that we can see the fruit and the functionality of the early church. Now let's talk about this for just a moment. Jesus comes on the scene and he sees something that looks odd to him. The model of the church seemed upside down. It was this elite group at the top, Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes, and everybody else at the bottom. And though they thought that it was in perfect shape, it was actually upside down and jumbled up. It was just all over the place. It was looking crazy to Jesus. And so even on his greatest sermon he ever spoke, on the Sermon on the Mount, he said, it is written, you have heard, these religious elite, these scholars of the law have said, but I say to you. Because they had head knowledge, but he brought the heart of God. And although they had a model that seemed to be cute, it was actually really all jumbled up. And so Jesus starts to look at things and he starts to correct them, but he doesn't correct them from a distance. He corrects them up close because he knows that the key to transformation is actually relationship. And so if we're willing to get into relationship with one another, then we can actually experience transformation. A lot of us are stifled in our growth because we're too busy trying to impress the people we're supposed to be learning from. I'll say that again for the people in the back. Some of us are stifled in our growth because we're too concerned with trying to impress the people that we actually should be learning from. And let me tell you what that looks like, right? What's kind of interesting about that is typically the people we're called to learn from already know that they have something to share with us that we didn't have on our own. And so the time that we can be taking notes, we waste projecting and pretending. And so Jesus said, no, I want to make a church where if you want to be the greatest, you must be the least. If you want to be the most known, the most popular, you better be the most servant-hearted. You want to be the biggest and the baddest? I want you to tackle the biggest and the baddest problems. You want to be seen by others? I want you to be invisible and behind the scenes. Jesus took a church that had been built as a pyramid that was only prioritizing and privileging one people group. He turned it on its head and he said, no, I want it to be a three-dimensional church that's for all people. A church that's about discipleship, a church that's about diversity, and a church that's about the duty and the call of loving neighbor. Did you get all of that out of Acts 2? Well, it doesn't stop there, friends. This is what it looks like to love our neighbor. And it's through this model of the community hub and community groups. Like we said, this is not a moment of church. This is a movement of transformation. This is not a moment of church. It's a movement of transformation. So right where you are, we're called to love our neighbor, but guess what? You're a neighbor. You are a neighbor and you have neighbors. So whether you're crashing on somebody's couch or you're in a committed connection to your location that you feel like you may live out the rest of your years from, you have a community and you have neighbors. But how do we get the community into the church? Well, it doesn't seem like church is a place that a lot of the community wants to be, but what if there was a place to experience God's love every day, a safe space to experience it? Well, that's what we call the community hub, gathering people around health, unity, and belonging. And health is important to all of us, for we have to have health in order to stay here and discover and fulfill our God-given purpose. And so health is not just physical, but it's also mental, emotional, and spiritual. And then unity, because we were created as relational beings. We need one another. And so we can connect and reflect together. And we are planting churches that are called to connect and reflect their community. And how do we do that? We do so by reaching our neighbor so that we can look like our neighborhood. And then belonging. We all want to be a part of something that's making a difference. The reason a lot of people are running away from church is because they're tired of the ritual. They're tired of the routine. They're tired of the religion. They want to be a part of something real. So we are no longer going to put all of our time and all of our energy into a moment of church on a Sunday. We want to be the church every day. This is not a moment of church, friends. This is a movement. But what do we do when all those people come? Well, we want to connect them into community groups, but not forcing them as a checkbox of obligation. When we connect around co-working space and meeting space and opportunities and a community garden and place for recreation where you can walk, you can run, you can connect with your community, a place to enrich our students and the next generation of leaders, in a STEAM lab, preparing them for jobs and employment opportunities in the tech space, a creative art studio where we can promote content that enriches the lives of our community. Well, when we spend time around each other, we want to spend more time around each other. When we have good memories and create lasting memories, we want to create even more memories. And so we end up connecting in community groups where we meet monthly, we mobilize quarterly. What does that mean? We choose a cause in our community that's important to our neighbors and meet them there. And don't think that we are called to look down on anyone. We are a neighbor. So what does our community need? And the beauty is all of us benefit when our community gets transformed. So we're after not just fellowship, but community transformation. And so we bring the community into the community hub, and the community hub begins to form community groups. And these community groups are sent out. We can see community groups in every town, in every city across the country, and even internationally one day, where this model of returning to the framework of the early church brings about the functionality and the fruit of the early church that we've all been desperately searching for. But this is no small task, and it must be done so strategically. And so we have places, positions, roles, and responsibilities that are going to cover the scope of not only meeting the needs of the hub, but creating healthy communities as broadly as literally residential areas, but also as intimately as community groups themselves. And so we encourage you, we're going to cover this, our org chart, next week, but we want to let you know that we need you. We need your partnership. We can't do this alone, but we can do this together. And so, take a look at our strategy, the Stained Glass Project. That's right, refugees. You didn't join a local church. You joined a national and international movement. So as we follow the strategy of the Stained Glass Project and the model of the community hub, we rethink our ideas about church. We rethink, we repent, and turn away from tradition toward transformation. We reconcile, planting churches that both connect and reflect the community. We reach our neighbors so that we can look like the neighborhood. And we replicate, we multiply through community groups, meeting monthly, mobilizing quarterly, and multiplying annually. So we are called to lead this movement together to restore the church to its full potential and to be a part of a revolution that returns us to what Jesus truly established. And that's through this model of the hub, connecting the community around health, unity, and belonging. Now, just to remind you, we have this in the works. This is our STEAM lab in the lower level of our main building. We also have a creative art studio. We are working toward co-working space. Sky is the limit. By God's grace, we have 29.6 acres of potential. And by God's grace and mercy, we are a debt-free ministry. But we are pushing forward. We have been extremely frugal and extremely generous at the same time. We've affected more community change and transformation in the down year of 2020 than we ever have in our 3-year history. And we've served thousands of families in just our 3 years of existence. But there's so much more to do. My wife and I and our team feel like we're just getting started. And so what does that mean for you? It means that we get involved, we get engaged, we recognize this calling, we recognize this purpose, and we find our place. This is a movement. It's not a moment of church. It's a movement of transformation, and we believe you are called to be a part of it. So we are so grateful for your partnership. We cannot do this alone, but we certainly, with God's help, can do this together. You're going to have a series in July led by our very own Brad and Janae. You're also going to hear from Mike, where we are going to center in on community groups to enlist everyone into this movement of community transformation as we meet, mobilize, and multiply. And we cannot wait to see you. Now, July 4th is a unique weekend. This year, it's on a Sunday. And so we have a unique opportunity that Brad and Janae are giving to our church. Yes, refugees, we are birthing something called community church. Yes, Refuge Community Church. But what does it look like for us to take the time we would be together and to invest it into the community? So you're going to have more details about that next week as we prepare for the July 4th weekend. But we are going to birth a movement within a movement called Community Church, where we are calling you to connect with your neighborhood and your neighbors. And you'll have more details about that. Don't worry if you're introverted. This is a easy barrier it's a low barrier to entry. It's an easy thing to engage in, and you'll hear all about it next week. And so we want you to prepare for renovations. We are going to put some of the resources that we have been stewarding and saving to good use. And we need you to know we are not doing this to have bigger and better church. We are doing this to turn our church inside out and to leverage the resources that God has given us to affect change and transformation in our community. And we cannot wait. And this is a place, friends, that is not a country club for Christians, but it is a clubhouse for the community. Too often we see churches become country clubs for Christians, where you have to have a membership badge just to get in. No, the church is a people, and whatever place God has given us, we should be connecting with those that don't know the Lord yet, by creating a safe space to experience God's love every day. And then, my friends, we might see the people, non-believers, standing in awe and wanting what they see that we have, not just because we have it, but also because we're willing to share. So we're willing to open our building that was once a sanctuary and let the worship center be a venue for our local schools to have performances and celebrations of the accomplishments of our students, right? We can open up our STEAM lab, not just for our own students within our faith family, but for the students in our community, and also opportunities for tutoring. We can open our creative art studio to create content and to lead the way for the next generation, to prepare them for a potential calling and vocation in the tech space. We can turn this place inside out. We can leverage our community garden to feed folks. We can do this. We can actualize this, and it's going to be through renovations. And so we want you to realize that the first renovation is on the inside. The first renovation is in our thinking. It's in our hearts. And so let's prepare to allow the Lord to minister to us as we partner together. And we would love for you to reflect on the words of this song as we say, Lord God, we would love for you to use us to be your hands and feet in the earth. We love you and trust you. May your work, your great work, begin in us. Let's sing along.
Hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but only trust in Jesus' name. You seen that? My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but only trust in Jesus' name. Christ alone, the cornerstone, the weak made strong in the Savior's love, and through the storm, oh, He is Lord, He's the Lord of all. When darkness seems to hide its face, I rest on His unchanging grace. Through every high and stormy gale, my anchor holds within the veil. Oh yes, and my anchor holds within the veil. Oh yes, oh Christ alone, the cornerstone, the weak are made strong in the Savior's love, and through the storm, oh, He is Lord, He's the Lord of all. Oh, He's the Lord of all. Yes, He is.
Family, we are so grateful that you joined us today. We are so appreciative of your partnership. God is doing a new thing, and He's not just doing something to a building. We as a church are His building. He's the cornerstone. And what's so beautiful about our story is He brought new life out of death, and He can do the same thing for you and your community. And so we invite you at this time, as we honor the Lord, as you're led to give, not just toward this work, but toward this cause. If we return to the framework of the early church, we can experience the functionality of the early church. And we look forward to experiencing that reality with you. And so as you're led, not under manipulation or under compulsion, but cheerfully, we welcome you to partner with us in this work, so that we can bring God's kingdom come and His will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We love you so much and can't wait to see you in week 3. Peace.
The tomb where soldiers watched